Leland Vittert now into the conversation, host of On Balance right here on NewsNation. Leland, I appreciate you making time on a Sunday. And, we are already seeing the political reaction. It is mainly falling on party lines, Democrats supporting the strikes, Republicans saying the president waited too long. Any surprise there, Leland, given it is an election year?
Not much surprise. I think what's interesting is how the White House continues to try to downplay this, right? We didn't see an Oval Office address on Friday night when the strikes were launched, as oftentimes happens by a president. We didn't see a joint press conference with Secretary Austin and Antony Blinken talking about policy going forward. They put out John Kirby, as you saw on Fox News Sunday. That's hardly as much as I like John Kirby. I think he's an honorable and good man. That's not a senior member. That's not a cabinet level member of the administration. That's not the four-star who's in charge of Central Command to issue some really stern warning to the Iranians. The White House would much rather the world be focused on other things, and the United States and the political conversation be focused on other things. I think the most telling thing, both from John Kirby's statement and then from your conversation with Commander Lippold, which I thought was excellent, is the why now? The point being made, oh, well, we did this to protect Americans and to deter future violence. Well, there were 158 attacks by Iranian proxies before they killed 3 Americans. And one would have to ask, if you had conducted these strikes that are allegedly going to be so deterring, and put the Houthis and Kataib Hezbollah so far back on their heels, if you were going to do that now, if you had done it before these 3 were killed, after one of the 158 attacks, might those 3 still be alive today?
Leland, how do you expect we will see this conflict play out on the campaign trail going forward?
It's a great question, and I think you're seeing President Biden, who is really caught in a pickle here, especially as it relates to Gaza, because he is being pushed so far by the left of his party as it relates to what is seen as too much support of Israel in the ceasefire now type. So that's going to be very difficult. We see Nikki Haley, who offers full-throated support of Israel and of Ukraine. And then you have President Trump, who is in this interesting and maybe even enviable spot, because he can say, look, under my watch, Ukraine wasn't invaded by Vladimir Putin. Kim Jong-un stopped his missile launches and his missile testing. And frankly, after the killing of Qasem Soleimani, the Iranians were put in their place. And because of the maximum pressure campaign of sanctions by the Trump administration, the Iranian proxies were denied the funding and thus the weapons that they so badly need and want. So one can make arguments back and forth about the virtues of President Biden's engagement with Iran and trying to re-enter into the nuclear deal and the like. But in terms of actual results and dividends to be paid, it's very difficult for President Biden to run on, hey, my foreign policy is doing great, when you just had Iranian militias kill 3 Americans.
Yeah, and Leland, with the time we have, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan did make the Sunday morning show rounds today, saying that there will be more strikes. Let's listen to that sound quickly.
We intend to take additional strikes and additional action to continue to send a clear message that the United States will respond when our forces are attacked or our people are killed.
Leland, meanwhile, we know the Houthis already say that they will meet escalation with escalation. I know that you are very familiar with this region. What are you paying attention to most in the coming days?
Again, what I think Jake Sullivan said and what Kirby echoed, he said, we're going to take action when our forces are attacked. Well, you didn't for 158 times. So clearly, whatever message you think these strikes are sending, it's not. They're hitting targets. There's nobody better at hitting targets than the U.S. military. But the full power of the U.S. military is being constrained. Even sort of overwhelming power of the U.S. military is being constrained. I think what you have to watch for is either an attack by the Iranian-backed groups that kill a number of more Americans in a way that the White House really can't ignore. And they have to respond more forcefully. You'd watch for the United States to do something that all of a sudden people pay attention to, whether it be sink the Iranian spy ship that is targeting the Houthis, doing the Houthi targeting for them and feeding back intelligence in the Red Sea. We had General Breedlove, former four-star commander and Supreme Allied Commander in Europe, say, maybe you turn that into a fishing reef, and suddenly the Iranians start paying attention. Kurt Lipperhold made a great point. If you started seeing an embargo on Iran and searching of everything coming in and out of Iran, some type of action by the United States that forced the Ayatollah and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard to take note in a way that was punitive, and that made them pay a price, I think that would change the conversation as well.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.